And I believe
I love that sound. That means it's time for this week's twin or this week in the news. And I talk about a person who is a newsmaker, was a newsmaker, or will be a newsmaker. And this week, my person is a woman named Alexa von Tobel.
who the heck is, well, I won't say the first name because my echo
Right.
will light off with
Ms.
that.
von Tobel.
Yeah, who's Miss von Tobel?
Yeah, well, let me tell you about Alexa. I'm glad you asked. She was born in 1984. She's a millennial. She is in Jacksonville, Florida. It was an upper middle class home. Her dad, her mom was a nurse practitioner, and her dad was a pediatrician. And as you can imagine, in Alexa's home, education and reading and learning were very important. And Alexa reminisces, and she says, she says, I learned 4 lessons in my youth. And she shares them. Lesson number 1 was when she was 5 years old. 5 years old. Her dad came to her and says, Alexa, this is the pediatrician. He says, I'm going to make a proposal to you. If you read 1 book a day, and there were books all over the home, if you read, at 5 years old, if you read 1 book a day, I will pay you $10. $10 to a 5-year-old is a lot of money. She probably thought she could buy a car. Okay? So you know what she did? She read a book a day, and she earned her $10. The lesson Alexa learned was if you work hard, you will be rewarded for your efforts. Quite a lesson to learn when you're 5 years old. Lesson number 2 came when Alexa was 10 years old. Her dad had created a college savings account, and he sat down with her at 10 years old, mind you, and showed her how much money was into the account, how much money was in there last year, how much money was in there this year, how much he's putting in, and he taught her how to read the account. At 10 years old. And here's a lesson Alexa learned from this lesson. Saving money takes time. If you invest wisely, you can watch your money grow, which is exciting. And even small contributions add up. 10 years old, mind you. I was worrying about Ted Williams. Lesson number 3. Alexa's mom, who was a nurse practitioner, she was a saver as well. As Alexa, being kind, would say, I grew up in a frugal household because her mom was a saver. Let me give you an example. She was at Christmas time, because they cost less, her presents were always the generic version, not the brand name version, because her mom was trying to save money. But when the family took trips to Europe, which they didn't cut back. It was amazing. Here's a lesson Alexa learned that when she was a kid. Prioritize what you spend on things, and spending money on experiences brings more happiness than spending money on things. Wow. I wonder how many of us know that today. But then came lesson number 4. And this was a lesson that changed Alexa's life forever. As a teenager, Alexa would go to her dad's pediatrician office for a job. I mean, he was teaching her how to work. And she would do filing, and she would clean up all the toys. Remember, her dad was a pediatrician. There were kids all over the place. And she did whatever odd jobs needed to be done because that was Alexa's job as a teenager. And she was paid minimum wage, but because she was paid, Alexa had to learn how to budget her money so that she could buy the things that she wanted. But one day, and Alexa knows the date, on June 9th, 1988, Alexa was 14. Alexa told her dad, he says, Dad, I really do want to go to work today, but just this one day, please. Can I just go hang out with my friends? And the dad said, okay, Alexa, you will not be paid, but that's okay. Remember, Alexa was a teenager. So Alexa went and hung out with her friends. And she came home later that day after hanging out with her friends, and her home was surrounded by police cars. And she says, you know, at 14, I know something bad had just happened. On his way to work, where Alexa said she wanted to hang out with her friends, her dad was involved in a horrific car crash and he died instantly. Alexa was not in that car because she wanted to hang out with her friends. Now remember, both her parents were highly educated, nurse practitioner, pediatrician. And they had different jobs. Her mom managed a family budget. Remember I said she was frugal, she managed family budget. And her dad managed the family investments. That was how they split the work. And her mom was one tough cookie. She was bold, but she was very, very smart. But after the death that day, June 9th, 1988, of Alexa's dad, her mom was helpless. She had no clue. She had no idea where the investments were. She had no idea how much money they had. Her husband took care of that. And she had no idea what to do next. She was lost. And this is a bold, smart, strong woman. This made her, teenage Alexa, sick to her stomach. Not only did her family have to deal with the unexpected death of her dad, her mom now had another thing to worry about, money. But fortunately, her dad had a life insurance policy with Northwestern Mutual, and that helped the family get by. He took care of the family. Here's a lesson that Alexa learned, which changed her life. He says, people need to be educated, even highly educated people, on how to deal with money issues and planning. She was 14 years old. So Alexa goes to school and goes to college. She went to Harvard University to study the things that she was interested in. And remembering what her mom went through, she went to Harvard and she went to her class planner, and she said, I'd like to take some classes on basic financial planning. She says, I don't know any more than my mom did when my dad died. She says, how many credit cards should I have? How much of my income should I spend on housing? Basic stuff. How much should I save every month? Where should I save every month? And her counselor at Harvard says, we don't offer such a class. Alexa goes, there might be a business opportunity here. So Alexa graduated from Harvard, and her first job was as a trader at Morgan Stanley in Manhattan. Now, Alexa knew she did not want to be a stock trader for the rest of her life. She says, you know what? This is a good place for me to build my foundation and think about what I really want to do with my life. She knew that she wanted to build something and create something that was special and exciting, because that's the kind of person she was. She just didn't know what she was, but here's what Alexa did. She kept a notebook with her, and every time she would get an idea, she would write it down in a notebook. Every time she thought of something that she would get excited about, she would write it down in a notebook. So she was building her library of what she was going to do the rest of her life. But while working at Morgan Stanley, Alexa struggled with the basic financial questions. Do I put my money in a 401k or an IRA? She didn't know. How many credit cards should I have? There's that question again. How much income should I pay for housing? What percentage of money should I pay for housing? And she thought to herself, wait a minute. I have no family because I'm not married. I have no mortgage because I don't own anything. I have no kids. I don't have to worry about college education. And I still don't know what the hell to do. She says, am I that stupid? She graduated from Harvard. So Alexa says, well, maybe it's just me. So she went to her coworkers and her friends, all in their 20s. Alexa was about 20, 21 at the time. And she says, well, what do you guys know about financial planning? Help me out, because I don't know what the hell to do with these questions. And here's what Alexa learned from her friends. They too had no idea what the hell to do. They too were confused. And they says, well, that's because financial planning is something you do when you get older. You don't have to worry about it when you're in your 20s. And they said, and by the way, Alexa, this is really boring stuff. Can we talk about something more exciting? Alexa thought to herself again, there must be a business opportunity here. So Alexa began seriously thinking about starting a business to address this opportunity. But there was one big problem. When Alexa thought about starting a business before this, it was always to do something cool and something exciting. Teaching financial literacy was not exciting, and it definitely wasn't cool. But she couldn't get it out of her mind. She said she really cared about how much she didn't know about financial literacy. And she remembered her mom didn't know anything either, and she was educated when her dad died. She became obsessed with solving this problem, and she knew she had to do something about it. So in 2006, at the age of 22, Alexa, living in Manhattan as a stock trader, stock trader for Morgan Stanley, she gave up her social life. She spent her nights and weekends thinking about how to start a business teaching financial planning and literacy. She thought and she wrote in a book. She thought and she wrote in a book. And she created a 75-page business plan. And she kept on working on it. 2 years later, in 2008, Alexa entered Harvard Business School. But 2008, two big things happened in 2008. Number one, the economy crashed in 2008, and people were terrified about what the hell is the best thing for them to do, or whatever little money they had left after the crash. And Alexa says, this crisis pushed me to say no, that now was the best time to start a business, because the world needed financial planning and literacy more now than ever. So 90 days after entering Harvard Business School, Alexa made the scariest decision of her life. She quit Harvard Business School to start her business. She had a lot of plans, but she quit. She remembers flying from Boston to New York, the shuttle. And she cried all the way. She was scared. She says, I'm a rule follower. She was a trader. They follow rules. She says, I'm not a risk taker. What the hell am I doing? But she remembered a psychology class she took when she was at Harvard undergraduate school. And in this class, they asked a bunch of 90-year-olds, what did they regret? And not one person regretted the things they did. But every person regretted the risks they didn't take. And Alexa says, I'm ready to take this risk. I left Harvard Business School. I'm going to move to New York City, the financial capital of the world, and I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to call it LearnVest, where I'm going to teach you how to manage your money. Alexa was scared, but she was determined. Alexa was an analyzer. I don't know if she was an engineer, but she was an analyzer. And here are some of the facts that Alexa gathered that convinced her that now was the time to create a company called LearnVest. Listen to these stats. Most people do not know how to organize and manage their finances. I don't care how old you are, they don't know that. The average U.S. household has $16,000 in credit card debt. 2 out of 3 people have left less than $1,000 in their savings account. The people who are retiring, the median amount of income they have is $5,000. And when Alexa talked to her peers, what we call the millennials, they think that learning financial literacy, financial planning is intimidating. It's something you do get older. And oh, by the way, Alexa, it is still boring as hell. So Alexa started a company called LearnVest to demystify financial planning. But she was going after the millennial generation. These people did not have a lot of money now because they were just starting out, but you know what? They hoped to have a lot of money later in life. But there was one big problem with starting a company called LearnVest. Alexa arrived in New York City with all her life savings. To her credit, she was 20-some years old, 22, 24 years old. She had saved $75,000 because her mom taught her how to be frugal. But LearnVest, according to a plan, was going to be an internet-based education company. She needed to hire a CTO. She knew that. And a bunch of engineers, she called them engineers, and each one was going to demand that they make between $150,000 and $200,000 a year. She needed a bunch of them. And she says, my $75,000 is not going to be enough. She says, I figured I needed to raise $750,000 to start her company. But that was another problem. Alexa had never raised money before. But she was determined. She was obsessed is what she was. So Alexa had a game plan. Listen to her game plan. She says, from day one, I was going to open up my laptop and I was going to start hustling. She contacted everyone she knew, and she would take a meeting with anyone who would meet with her. She would ask people for advice and introductions and money. She would pay for lunch meetings, and she would pay for coffee meetings. Alexa dedicated 100% of her time and effort to find money to start her obsession called LearnVest. After a year and a half, in 2009, she was now 25, Alexa, remember he had a goal of raising $750,000? Alexa had raised $1.1 million. How was she able to raise this amount of money when she had no experience as a CEO running her own company, and she had never raised money before? Aside from being determined, here's what Alexa had going for her. Alexa had her 75-page business plan, which Alexa states nobody ever read besides her. But she knew her 75-page plan backwards and forwards and in numbers. There wasn't one number they could ask her that Alexa didn't have background and backup information for. Alexa was passionate about her mission, and Alexa was all in. There was no one more committed than her because she quit her job and left our business going. Remember, she left after 90 days. But in my opinion, she doesn't state this, but I believe this is true. What really made investors give her money and want to invest in Alexa was how she described her target market. She was going to target the younger millennial audience. I was in that business. We were always told you go after people with at least $250,000 to $500,000. These people had no money. They had no education. They were underserved. Alexa says, I'm going to become the solution for the money that whatever they had today and the money that they hoped they would have in the future. I was going to teach them how to manage that money because no one else was spending time with them. I'm going to do it on a subscription service because they don't have any money, but they can afford lattes and cappuccinos. I'm going to get some of their lattes. She says, I'm going to teach them so that they understand what they should do with their money. She says, I'm going to provide them with an education and the tools to manage the money they had and the money they're going to have and the money they want to have in the future. She says, and I'm going to hold them accountable because they're going to make commitments to me, how to manage their wallet. She used the term wallet because every millennial had a wallet without much money. She says, we're going to manage your wallet. They could understand that. She says, and I'm going to provide them financial advice by telephone 24 hours a day because millennials have their own hours. One investor who had originally rejected Alexa's pitch came back and said, Alexa, I'm in. He says, I think you're nuts, but you are totally committed, and he gave her money. On January of 2010, Alexa now was 26 years old. LearnVest was launched, subscription service. On the first day that they launched, she had 4,500 subscribers, and their site crashed. They couldn't handle it. In their first month, LearnVest had 10,000 subscribers. A few weeks later, remember this was January, a few weeks later, Valentine's Day as a matter of fact, Alexa had tons of venture firms who wouldn't talk to her before, contacting her asking to invest in her company. So Alexa wound up raising an additional $5 million. Eventually, Fortune 500 companies heard about LearnVest, and they said, hey, can we, as at our expense, subscribe our entire workforce so you can teach them how to manage their money? And they did. And LearnVest was on its way to great things. To create a financial plan back in 2009, 2010, which is when I was in the business, to create a good one with a professional cost $9,000 to $19,000, sometimes $25,000. Here's was Alexa's fee. She charged $299 as a one-time setup fee to make sure they were committed, and then she charged them $20 a month to be part of her education service. In 2015, 5 years after founding LearnVest, a company called Northwestern Mutual bought LearnVest for $250 million. Now, if Northwestern Mutual sounds familiar, that's the same company her dad had a life insurance with that saved her family when the dad died. In a recent interview, Alexa was asked if she was always this type of competitive person we talked about earlier. She says, oh my God, no. She says there are two kinds of people. There are competitors and achievers. Competitors are cutthroat people. She said, they got to beat the other guy, the other person. She says, I'm not, oh my God, I can't do that. She says, I'm an achiever. You know who I have to beat? I have to be better tomorrow than I am today. And if I do that, even if it's a little bit, I know I'll be better. Alexa calls herself an achiever.
I'm Alexa Von Tobel, founder and CEO of LearnVest.com. LearnVest is a program for your money. We're one of the first companies where you can go and get unlimited financial advice led by an expert for an affordable price. So it's basically a gym membership for your money.
A gym membership for your money. A lot of fun. Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea for LearnVest?
I was trying to figure out my own finances, and I remember thinking, why is getting access to good, trusted advice so difficult? And I built a business plan and ended up winning a business plan competition and saying, this should be a consumer product. Whether you make $50,000 or $500,000, you should be able to get access to someone who can tell you what kinds of insurance you need, how to refinance your mortgage, what you need to be doing for your children, what your budget should be, etc. I was client number one, and now we've been growing rapidly and raised almost $75 million.
We're here to talk a lot about STEM today,
Yep.
Science, technology, engineering, and math. What inspired you to go into a profession in math?
Starting in second grade, I was enrolled in advanced math and things like that. It was just always something I loved. We played like a ton of numbers games growing up. My parents were always pushing us. I've always been a science and math girl, so it's no surprise that my book, Financially Fearless, is all about the math of your personal finances. And to be honest, that's what I love about personal finance is I can take you right now and we can say, give me 89 data points and I can build you a financial plan, because at its core, it's math.
How do you think we can encourage more women to enter STEM professions?
Start teaching kids about money early on. It's such a simple concept.
It's not a conversation a lot of parents have,
Yeah.
which is why you started LearnVest.
Yeah, I mean, I have a radio show on Sirius called Financially Fearless with Alexa. The number of people that call in with their questions is astounding. It's been invaluable to how we think about better developing programs for people.
I know you have some show and tell items, and
Sure.
I love show and tell. So let's take a look.
This is from the first summer that LearnVest literally got up and running. We were in a
So
room.
this is jam.
Yeah, it's literally, because that summer I just was like, keep jamming. This is of my favorite person in the world, which is my grandfather and my husband. And I'm really fortunate my family's been able to be my biggest cheerleaders. And then this is the hat that we made for the whole team. First, I wear it pretty much every single day or weekend.
I think I've seen pictures of
I'm
you
running
in it.
around. But it just, always remembering it is about the team, company first, us second, and making sure that we operate as a team. And I'm learning a lot about how to always do that better.
What is one piece of advice you have for women who hope to fill your shoes one day?
Think bigger, dream bigger, and then give yourself the confidence and the allowance to say that you'll get there. Get out of bed every day, give 120, 125%, take it one day at a time, but dream really big.
You are definitely a fearless founder.
Financially Fearless. Thank you so much.
Now, I can't figure this out. I'm figuring she owned maybe close to 40% of the company when Northwestern Mutual. So Alexa probably left with about $100 million in her pocket, or something close to that. Not bad for a kid that at the age of 5, her dad says, hey, Alexa, if you read a book a day, I'll give you $10. quite a person. I got 3 small business lessons from Alexa von Tobel that I think small business entrepreneurs can learn from. Alexa became successful because she did what she was obsessively passionate about: teaching financial literacy to millennials, even though everybody said it was a complete waste of time because they have no money and they don't care about that. Question, Mr. Small Business or Ms. Small Business Owner, are you doing what you're obsessively passionate about, or are you doing just what you can do to make a living? Makes a difference. Alexa started LearnVest to solve unanswered complaints that she and young people had about financial literacy. She knew there was a need there. Question for small business owners: does your company solve unanswered complaints, or do you ignore complaints and just do something better than your competitors? She found a niche. And number 3, I think, is even more important. Alexa did not let her lack of a track record or experience stop her from pushing her dream of LearnVest. She had never raised money before, and she had never run a company before, and she raised $1.1 million to run a company. What are you not doing to grow your business because you think you need more credentials? Alexa didn't, and do you? And that's my twin for this week on Ms. Alexa von Tobel.
Is the name still the same?
Yeah, learnvest.com, yeah.
LearnVest, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and subscription service. They didn't have $19,000, but you know what they had? They had $300, and they had $20 a month. At $4,500 the first day at $20 a month, it's $90,000. The first month, the first day. At the end of the first month, you had $10,000. You know how much that is a month? $200,000 a month subscription.
Yeah.
That's $2.4 million a year. Her first month.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, and this is a kid who is not a competitor. Oh, no. And she follows the rules, but she heard a complaint and she went and did something about it. She acted on it. And by the way, she was all in. Like I say, she flew from Boston, New York. She was scared as hell. But she couldn't stop thinking about it. She was obsessed. And that's it.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Who started that subscription model anyway? I remember those days on the internet where they're always just trying to get a big chunk of change, and I forget.
Well, I did a twin, and I called him Wilmont because I didn't want people to know who I was talking about. And Wilmont was a wannabe entrepreneur, and Wilmont was struggling, and he was having trouble, and he had to return some videotapes to a store because he was running and they were late, and he was concerned I was going to tell his wife they had to pay a penalty. And he says, why can't I do what other people do? And he started a subscription service, and he called it Netflix.
Oh,
His name is Reed Wilmont Hastings is what his name is.